The third question from that movie that inspired this kind of seminar is there anyone who can lend you their courage to support yours? Because sometimes I would love to say as a leader, I've never lost courage. That's a lie. And if I could do a show of hands, I would, but I can't see your hands. You could raise them if you want to. But I would venture to say a lot of you out there have lost courage at some point too. It doesn't mean it's permanent, but it's tough. And right now is one of those tough moments. And if you're someone here whose courage is waning or is depleted, who is somebody in your life that you can lean on as you rebuild your courage? There's a scene from this movie. And again, for those who've seen the movie, you know what scene I'm talking about. For those who haven't, though, at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, all of these characters who had been wiped out all return right as the things are most dire. And there's this amazing, beautiful music that swells. And I get choked up and teary-eyed every time I see it. And because Captain America is done. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do, but he just shows up. And right when he needs them the most, when his courage is empty and his body is broken, everyone shows back up. And there's even a look from one of his guys. He just looks at him and nods. And he's like saying, I've got you, Cap. We've got you. We're here for you. And it reinvigorates him to the point where he just physically, you see his body just kind of clench back up. And he just gets this assertive, like, okay, we can do this kind of thing, right? So you may not have a 60-foot tall friend named Ant-Man or an Incredible Hulk as a friend or Thor or Spider-Man or any of these people as friends, right? If you do, please put that in the comments. I would love to meet them, but likely you don't, right? So, but looking at this, right, we are never, ever supposed to go through this kind of stuff alone. And yet sometimes as leaders, we're the worst at asking for help. So who is it that you can lean on if your courage is failing? And even if it's not failing, maybe you're feeling strong right now. What better of a time to reach out to people when you're feeling strong than waiting till the last minute when you're really struggling? Because it's harder sometimes to ask people for help when you're struggling. So who are those people? Because truthfully, the loneliness of leadership is a real thing. When I took over as executive director, I was meeting with a person who had led at a much larger level than I had. And I just went, what am I dumb not to ask you about? And he said, how are you planning on dealing with the loneliness of leadership? That was the very first question he asked me. And I went, I don't know. I mean, I've got some friends. He goes, you need to solve this question before you continue. And sure enough, within just a couple months, when you're making hard decisions that are unpopular with board members, when you're having to make cuts, when you're having to deal with these things that put all this pressure on you, it's really hard to find other people who can get it, who feel like they can relate. I mean, especially like looking at us as grief support leaders, right? How often do people feel so isolated after they experience loss and no one else around them gets it? To some extent, even though it's a totally different circumstance, the pressure and the weight of responsibility that we're dealing with as leaders is very isolating. And so we need to be intentional about figuring out who can you invite into your inner circle that you can be most vulnerable around, that you can ask for help, be your unfiltered self, and just talk about the challenges or the struggles or even the emotions that you're facing, right? The fear or the anxiety of, I don't know if this is the right call, and I don't know if I have the right data to know if it's the right call, but I got to make a decision. If you can find those people and lean on them, whether you're at courage at a 10 right now or if it's at a 1, it's going to help you stay in the fight.